What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's that time again to check out more of your requests and recommendations for underground metal on Bandcamp. Alright, and we're going to kick things off with a commenter request from the last video with Mutilation Barbecue. Self-titled Ohio death metal band. Ooh. Production's great. Strong Cannibal Corpse vibes, obviously. It's pretty great. I'm already into it. Album art is very interesting. Yeah, this is fun. Good groove. Honestly, if somebody just threw this on, back when we burned discs, if somebody just threw this on my Cannibal Corpse album, I might not even know the difference. So hopefully that's a compliment. So that was a cool little pace change there. Ooh, I like these little hammer-on and pull-off sections too. Heavier than a beef brisket is the the only thing that's written in the description section. That's wonderful. Yeah, I really like this closing part here. Let's check out another song. Necrophiliac Obsession. Lovely. Big atmospheric intro here. Does he have horns on his head too? Man, there's so much going on in this picture. There's tremolo parts there. Oh wait, I missed the D beat, I think. Oh no, it's just a skank beat, I think. Ooh, big groove, yeah. Hell yeah. That's the bomb. I love that. This is great. I love it. Thank you to, I forget who commented recommending this one, but thank you for that. That is Mutilation Barbecue with their self-titled EP. Alright, then we have She with Basement Wizard. Maybe I'm saying that right. Nice doom. So we've got Depressive Suicidal Stoner Doom is in the logo here. And I think they're nailing that vibe. I like the album art too. Big grooves here. Art definitely, the color style matches. A little bit of Chemists in the guitars, I feel like, but obviously much more kind of black metal in the vocals. This is the kind of doom that I do tend to enjoy too. It's either death doom or this kind of raunchy, bluesy, blackened style of doom. It's got a certain extra level of fun to it. Raunchy. I like that song titles too. Will Bang, okay? Everything sounds great too. They've got a good balance of the production's capturing everything, but it also has just enough edge to it for the style. The big sad. This is great. I am interested in the band's reasoning why they decided to go with this particular name and character. So let me know down in the comments. I'm interested. But yeah, I'm digging this. Good stuff. That is Basement Wizard from She. Then we have Serling with the James Bevis Chronicles. Interesting title. This is a offshoot of 30 Seconds Go. So shared members. More of that mathcore energy from Dover, New Hampshire. Oh no, this is the record labels from Dover. Not sure about the band. Dover's in the tags again. Oh yeah. Where are my mathcore fans at? I dressed appropriately today for this type of stuff. I like the simple album cover too. It calls back to those botch kind of style covers for some reason for me. A lot of short to the point songs here, which generally is great for this style. I like this very deliberate 4/4 beat with the more chaotic blasts of the guitar and the vocals. That guitar tone is interesting too. It's got this like kind of indescribable, just like factory sound, like a machine repeatedly like punching into something as part of an assembly line. Kind of interesting like repurposing of that gent sound. Yeah, definitely a different vibe than 30 Seconds Go. Like, there's some shared elements, but I feel like 30 Seconds Go is a little bit more kind of like sassy. This is feels more bitter. More kind of like minimalist too. I like these vocals. All over the place. Death's Head Revisited. Why do I know that? Is that from something? Because I feel like I've seen that before. They're going full on like Meshuggah with this one. Like old school Meshuggah. Except for this. This ain't Meshuggah. Ain't your daddy's Meshuggah. Hell yeah. I love it. I love it. So yeah, you can pick this up, name your own price too. Always a big fan of that. I believe 30 Seconds Go is also name your own price, I think. But anyways, this is Serling with the James Bevis Chronicles. Switching gears again, we have Sapientia Diaboli with Black is the Messenger, Black is the Destiny. I probably butchered that band name, as per usual. It would not be a Best of Bandcamp episode without me screwing up at least one. Sapientia Diaboli. Formless is the only word in the description. I like it when bands kind of have fun with that little mini bio section. Yeah, this is some very cavernous, spiraling kind of black metal. Type of black metal that always makes me picture kind of like falling into a void. Another good example too of, I talk about this on here a lot, black metal going for that kind of raw, more lo-fi sound, but doing it correctly. Doing it in a way that complements the sound instead of it just feeling like a throwaway kind of edgy element. Just to do it because, you know, that's what the early band sounded like. Like here, it seems to complement the, like, reverberating void emptiness of it all. Fits the title perfectly. Fits the album art. And you're still hearing the guitars, you're still hearing the drums. So yeah, that's always my feedback to bands, is match your production style to what you're going for. Like, don't just try to like sound like somebody else. Like, make sure it's truly complementing your sounds. So I really do like it here. Like, it's causing everything from the guitars and drums to the vocals especially to have this like extra haunting aura to it. Reminds me a little bit of like Cultus de Gulus. Cultus de Guz, however you pronounce that. And again, I'm not always like super hyped about listening to this more kind of like raw second wave revival stuff, but I think this is getting it down pat. So again, this is Sapientia Diaboli with Black is the Messenger, Black is the Destiny. Alright, the return of Keldon Frame with a new release here. Just came out in October. Ooh, we got some just straight up like church organ intro here. Interesting. Music for commercials. Is that the label? Because this isn't Keldon Frame's page. Oh man, we got full on Keldon Frame. If you haven't caught them in previous episodes, they're kind of like an ambient, experimental noise, some industrial elements. Yeah, here's more of those like industrial vibes I'm used to from them. Yeah, music for commercials is a label. It's interesting. This album art is... Talk about retro. Man, that takes me back. Believe it or not, I am old enough to remember using these, both at home and at school. Good old floppy disks. It always bothered me that they were called floppy disks when they weren't floppy. There were those like bigger, floppier ones, but as I recall, these were also called floppy disks. Yeah, nice little kind of palette cleanser. If you're into stuff like Nine Inch Nails, Ghosts is probably the most like mainstream example I can usually give people of this, then this is the type of stuff you want to listen to. But yeah, it's much more kind of like chilling, thinking music, if you can even call it music. And I'm not like huge on this style, but Keldon Frame I continue to feature, not only because they continue to reach out, but because I think they do a particularly good job of it. Ooh, this one has like a Silent Hill soundtrack kind of vibe, sort of blowing wind sound to it. So yeah, and I also appreciate that Keldon Frame kind of bring you a lot of different styles, really. Like, there's a lot of diversity. I hear a lot of ambient projects that get sent to me where everything kind of starts to feel the same. But here, every track has its own unique personality. So, yeah, check out Keldon Frame with Mental Static. Great title, too. Death Epiphany, Traversing the Blood Mist. Ooh. We're in Sweden now. Definitely hearing that classic Swedish death metal energy. Ooh, this hits like a sledgehammer. And there's the tagline. Feel free to use that in your reposting of this. Ooh, holy crap, those vocals. That's delightful. I like the cover art too. I like this little eye they snuck in here. The text for the logo, I feel like could look a little bit better. I feel like it doesn't fit with the rest of this as much. But the music, man. It's just like a bunch of like beasts just flying out of some chasm right in your face. A bunch of demons. More good like spooky season music. Although by the time you hear this, I'm recording this portion of the episode still in October, but you're probably watching in November. So it's still spooky season for me. Ooh. That was insane. Just relentless blast beats. The vocals are just insane. Just like totally unhinged sounding. And despite how hard it hits, there's also a decent amount of dynamics going on here. Ooh, this one's like a whirling, like vortex tornado type situation. Ooh, that was an interesting guitar line there. Okay. You know, I keep hearing stuff and being like, okay, this is my favorite so far. I don't know. I think this one so far has made the biggest impact with me. Big driving beat. They're doing a lot of good stuff with the drums of switching up the pace and style of the beat that they're using to add kind of like extra texturing. Ooh, raunchy. That's great. Yeah, I could just sit and listen to this whole thing. But that is Death Epiphany with Traversing the Blood Mist. Then we have Soul Sistere from Santiago, Chile with their self-titled. I feel like I may have listened to these guys before. I think we did Unfading and Corporeal Vacuum, actually, back in 2016. Not on this, obviously. This The YouTube channel didn't even exist yet, but I think I might have done a write-up for it. By the way, you can always find more written reviews in addition to videos on metaltrenches.com, mostly from Chris. Catch even more underground stuff, because that's definitely what he focuses on. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. I do this segment about monthly now, and then I do like 4 videos a week, album reviews, tier lists, roundups, you name it. As far as Soul Sistere goes, a great atmosphere here. I love this cover too. I really like these style covers, the kind of like penciled look. I know there's a name for this style of art, but I'm a plebe, so I don't remember what it's called. Yeah, just like massive kind of post-black atmosphere, atmospheric black metal they've got in the tags. A little bit of like black gaze in there too. I know for some groups that's a bad word, so hopefully you're not offended. Nice picture. Yeah, but that like kind of uplifting warm sound that they're infusing into it, to me that's sort of the difference between just your standard atmospheric black metal and you know, that more black gaze post-black sounds. It's got more of that like ghost bath or Death Heaven kind of vibe. But these are my favorite kind of bands in that style, where they still stay heavily grounded in the black metal elements and don't kind of go too far astray into the like post-rock, post-hardcore side of things. This one's more instrumental. It's like a lot of different, again, textures, longer songs too. Nice drum intro on that one. Yeah, I'm really digging this. Seems like a great album to kind of like put on and just like lay down and close your eyes and just take it in. Conjuring up a lot of different emotional energies. Like that line there, that like slowly descending kind of sorrowful melody. A little bit of a tearjerker there. Yeah, I like stuff like this, and I appreciate, I feel like it's becoming more and more sort of like accepted as more than just like a, you know, quote unquote hipster black metal kind of thing. But yeah, that is Soul Sistere with Soul Sistere. Then we have Cruel Wonders with Clay Vessels. It's like maybe a duo here. I love going into these because sometimes I have no idea what to expect. I try to like not even sample as much as I can. Oh, this is different. Doom. Kind of more like traditional Doom. Yeah, just a duo with Tamar and Vlad. Out of Israel. Cool. I feel like we've had a handful of bands out of Israel, but it's definitely a rarer location to get requests from. Vocals are good. I'll be totally honest, like, there are a lot of Doom bands with female vocalists where I just cannot stand, like, the approach that the vocalist takes. Like, it's more like, like, kind of like all over the place, and it just, like, annoys my ears. This is more sort of understated. It's got more of, like, a mystical, kind of, like, witchy quality to it that I like. Hopefully nobody's upset by me saying any of the things I just said. I'm trying to be as talking just about the sound as possible. I like the layering here. We got this like subtle layering of like the acoustic guitar in there with the electric melodies. Very chill. Yeah, again, another band breaking through and kind of melting my icy heart when it comes to doom metal. A lot of cool elements here with like sounded like chimes and very chill, very thoughtful. Ooh, there's some subtle strings in there. Nothing's overdone. Great production. The way this is all mixed in and orchestrated is very good. This person's picture. Thank you for sending this in. I always like when we can break things up with something a little bit different from everything else on the list. I'm down for it. Very cool. Awesome. So yeah, that is Cruel Wonders with Clay Vessels. Then we have Disorientation with Disorientation out of Quebec. Oh. Getting right into it. It's like another duo. Another male-female duo. Back to back. Different style though. Oboe is in the tags. Interesting. Is that it? Oh, there it is. I know that sound. My sister played clarinet in high school. Oboe, kind of a close associate. Higher sound, but I know that tone well as a result. Interesting. I feel like there's another metal band that uses an oboe, which is such a different choice, but everyone's throwing in their own little thing now. I'm not as into this more like the operatic kind of sounding vocals. Oh wow. It sounds like all over the place. I like these more black metal vocals with it. Very kind of like avant-garde vibe to it too. With just like that kind of meandering melody that seems to not follow a particular structure. It almost feels improvised. It's like slam poetry, but with black metal oboe metal. Yeah, this is definitely not going to be for everyone, but I love that weird, obscure, kind of random stuff. That's what this segment is all about, really. That's my favorite stuff to cover on here. Yeah, this is just all over the place. It feels so improvised. I kind of like it like that. But yeah, that is Disorientation, which, speaking of which, perfect band name, perfect title. It's their self-titled EP. Alright, next up we have Dark Vision with Ianos, or Lenos. I can't tell if that's an L or I. I like this artwork a lot. It's giving me some like Prometheus vibes. Like the faces and everything. This is a Greek band of Athens. I believe they listed Rotting Christ as an influence. Ooh, that's a kind of behemoth-y rolling riff right there. Drums sound really good. I like that. Bleh. That was a nice little subtle bleh. Nice blackened tremolos. Good fusion of just the black metal and death metal elements. Nice big meaty riffs. I do feel like it could use a little bit more of a unique personality, but as far as like all the elements, the production, the guitar sounds, the songwriting, like it's all the pieces are there. It's just a matter of kind of like how do you step it up to really stand out is what I'm kind of looking for. But yeah, that is Dark Vision with Ianos. Then we have Infants of the Afterlife with self-titled. Another very cool album cover. I like that a lot. That is kind of eerie. Got this mermaid or siren hanging out in this. Is that a body? Oh, there's like a body falling into it too. I didn't even notice that right away. Nice little ambient intro. So this is off of a Norwegian label. The band itself, they're inspired by Cornish folklore. That's cool. So speaking of sounding different, this has some of that. Not the most unique thing I've heard, but this is definitely like a little bit more on the kind of avant. If we have a spectrum of avant-garde, this is like shifting a little bit more in that direction. I like those warbly guitars. It's kind of that like death spell sound, but then with a completely different take on the vocals. Good mix of atmosphere with kind of more straightforward elements. I'm hearing like this part right here totally reminds me of like a Door era Smashing Pumpkins. Like that really distorted but melodic kind of synthy electronic sound. Thinking like songs like Apples and Oranges. They had some slower ones like that too. If anyone else, here's the comparison. Okay, now we're stepping back into the black metal side though. That was a neat little fusion. I'd be interested to hear more of that. Distracted down here by this album. Fucking dead. Yeah, this is cool how they're melding these like warbly, just kind of unnerving guitar sounds with kind of just a different approach. There are elements too that remind me in a strange way of like Tribulation, even though this is a lot more kind of like heavy and black metal focused. But just something about like the atmosphere and the drumming, because they're sticking with a very sort of like, the drumming it gives me like an 80s vibe almost in a weird way. Yeah, this is a very, very interesting one here. So yeah, definitely check this out too. Infants of the Afterlife with Infants of the Afterlife. Alright, then we have Prague Dylan with Home Birth. Let's change of pace here. Out of Sydney, Australia. Another interesting cover. I really like this helmet. Not so sure about this face. It's a little weird. But maybe that's the intention. I can't help that those helmets always give me Bioshock vibes now. Prague Dylan would be best described as a group who juggle the perilous combination of... We got bullet points here. Oh, I like this with the falsetto-y kind of vocals. This has kind of a 90s vibe to it too. So, perilous combination of the harmonic expressive freedoms of jazz, the compositional boundaries of prog rock, and the extreme presence and rhythmic intensity of metal and heavy music. Never seen it bullet pointed out like that. Ooh, that was a cool transition. With that little electronic melody there and then the break. Kind of Deftones-y, you know? That's a very kind of like Stephen Carpenter sounding groovy riff too. And even the falsetto vocals give me that sort of Chino vibe too. That's really neat. Then we got a more kind of 70s psychedelic solo here. Check out one of these other songs. Ooh. This is like, talk about 80s. This is like dancey. This is just like putting me in a good mood too. Like there's this severe shortage usually in my requests for like good mood music. It's mostly bad mood music, but it's nice to have these palate cleansers. And then for them to also be pretty impressive. Like there's a really cool degree of songwriting going on here, a lot of creativity, very unique. Not like anything else I've listened to, I think, on this segment at all. A little bit of like doom in its DNA, and then also just traditional sort of 70s rock. Yeah, those guitars especially. But then he busted out into that straight up like Deftones moment. A little bit too of with the electronic elements, I'm thinking like Portishead. Gotta love Portishead. I'm willing to bet that a lot of my favorite metal bands are influenced by Portishead. I've even heard a few of them say so. This is cool with the bass and the little kind of twinkling guitar picking. Voice is great. Reminds me a little bit of like Mike Patton too when he does the falsetto stuff. We're we're getting a transition here. Ooh! Shoot, now we're going, like, mathcore. Oh, but now it's, like, Primus. This is, like, straight up Primus right there. And then back. Man, this is all over the place. This is really neat. Cheap, too. 3 songs for, if you're doing US dollars, it's just over $2. Let's say buy this. I want to hear more from him. I don't see any other releases on here too, so yeah, please keep at it. I really like this. This is definitely something I could see myself following. But that is Prague Dylan with Homebirth. Alright, then we have IKARASS with Relapse into Desolation. Another name that I'm not sure how to pronounce here. IKARASS? What if it's Icarus? I'm Icarus. Or IKARASS. Don't know. Another cool cover. Good day for album covers. Kind of eerie too. A little bit of that like scary stories to tell in the dark vibe in a weird way. These guys are out of Spain. That eerie picture too. Very like post-metal-y. Yeah, post-metal. Nice. Intersperse heavy rhythms with dark ambient sounds and clean vocals. This reminds me of a couple bands I've covered here and elsewhere that are on the tip of my tongue. Good dynamics. Got some ups and downs here. I am seeing this album's from 2020, and it's hard to keep up with all these requests, so I don't remember if this was just the latest album on their Bandcamp, or if they have one on the horizon and it just hasn't dropped yet, so all's worth checking back. I like this, though. Ooh. That bass sounds awesome. With, again, those, like, twinkly, kind of starlight guitars. Big mood music. Just that very, like, introspective, melancholic vibe. You know what, there's a band called the Moth Gatherer that this kind of reminds me of. And another one called North. There's some similarities there. Yeah, lots of good kind of yin and yang of the heavy distortion and the wails with these kind of softer moments. Alaskan as well, which was a great underground sludge group that you can find on Bandcamp. I'd also recommend if you're enjoying this, but this is great. The production sounds huge. Performances are solid. I appreciate too that like they know when and when not to implement the vocals. Like they're using kind of a lot of negative space there, so that when the screams come in, it like makes that much of an extra impact. Then largely seems to let the instrumentation do a lot of the talking. Getting this part's giving me like just some negative vibes there. This is great. Yeah, this is like the polar opposite though in terms of the good vibes of the last one. Talk about yin and yang. But yeah, another solid one. We got some bangers today, y'all. So that is IKARASS with Relapse into Desolation. Then we have When at Night with Weltanschauung, which is one I actually feel confident in my pronunciation, more or less, because I've taken German in college. It's been a while, but love the language. Don't always know what every word is, but I feel like I can pronounce things relatively well. Their particular city or province or whatever it is, though, that would be a little bit more difficult for me to say. Okay, going a much more doomy direction. Very classic looking album cover here. Another like early 90s kind of look to it. I wonder if this is more just the intro. Oh, never mind. Just a tone-setting intro. Alright, now we're going full black metal. Yeah, metalcore in the tags too. So we got like a blackened hardcore situation maybe. That is the vibe that this picture has. This Motorhead shirt. I do really like some blackened hardcore. There's a band out here in Portland called Bastard Feast that is just awesome. This is a little bit more black metal leaning than that. Some bands lean more hardcore, this is leaning more black metal, but I definitely hear those metalcore riffs, like right here. It's a very kind of metalcore sounding riff. Although you could argue too that that's also kind of like Swedish black metal, like Dissection, where it's got the melodic death metal influences. It's all that was spawned kind of from that Gothenburg sound anyways. I'm digging those riffs, because man, that's like my favorite kind of guitar. Just, I grew up on Dark Tranquillity when it comes to metal, so soft spot for that. Some diversity in the vocals too. I feel like the production is something that could be stepped up. Like this lead guitar and the vocals sound a little... There's not enough presence. Like the main rhythm guitar sounds pretty good, but some of those leads just sound a little... I don't know. Like flat. So I'd say that's where to focus attention from my perspective, my humble perspective. How do you make these recordings sound even bigger? The songwriting itself sounds pretty good. This might be a controversial opinion, and it's always a big gamble, especially when it comes to stuff that's black metal influenced, but I'd be interested to hear a few clean vocals on here. Like, I think there's room for that. And I'm talking anything from like a Killswitch Engage vibe to a Dark Tranquillity vibe. I just think it would be interesting to add on to the dynamics in that way. Don't have to do that, but in this case I'd be kind of interested. Some bands benefit from that, others don't, and I wish they would do less clean vocals. And not too much, like just here and there. Might be interesting. Of course, only if your vocalist can actually sing, because I've heard plenty of groups try to do it when the singing just isn't there. Cool. But that is When at Night with Weltanschauung. Alright, next up we have Intaglio with Two. It's a Russian band, Death Doom, since 2005. Very cool album art. Beautiful, really. Kind of post-metal-y too. See a little bit of like ISIS, maybe Neurosis vibes. Ooh, is that cello? Ooh, I like that. Speak my language when you bring in those like string quartet instruments. Ooh, and the violin kicking in. Okay, we got another like Rise to the Sky situation here, maybe. Y'all sending me that good Death Doom. That stuff that's actually... Oof, that gave me a little bit of goosebumps right there, that little intro. More cello, so it's not a fluke either. This is lovely. Y'all in Rise to the Sky might have to join up, do like a collab. Do those twinkly little guitar notes too. Drums sound great. Production is just awesome. It's almost like being there. I can really hear every instrument just perfectly. got some like ambient noise going on there. Mournful, kind of mysterious. Ooh. Weird like electronic elements. That cello's just everything though. I love that. Got some spoken word. Interesting. This definitely feels very conceptual. Doom opera is how they would describe the album they're saying here too. So yeah, that is, again, Intaglio with 2, and I'd say whether you're a Doom fan or not, check this thing out. Alright, we have Primeval Well with Talkin' in Tongues with Mountain Spirits out of Nashville, Tennessee. Woo! And I'm not being a jerk. I lived in Memphis for like 5 years. I legitimately love Tennessee and the people there. We had a very positive experience. It's just the weather is terrible. It's so hot. So humid. That's kind of cool. We had that like slide guitar. A lot of that like southern influence here, but mixed in with like black metal. They've labeled themselves experimental southern gothic black metal, and I think that already just a few seconds in kind of nails it. Interesting cover. Got some like Panopticon vibes to the artwork here, which kind of makes sense because might be delving into some similar thematic territory. Much more black metal though. Ooh, we even have the crackling fire. Ooh, and we got some like fiddle going on here. Yeah, this is definitely Panopticon fans. This is your new FFO. Some strings. Got again that very southern twang of the acoustic, and then just the pure black metal in there too. It's nice to hear too, honestly, because Panopticon sort of moved a little bit away from the fusions they were doing on like Kentucky and Roads to the North, and I feel like this is bringing some of that back. So I dig. I definitely approve as someone who particularly loves that era of Panopticon. And there's not that many bands doing it, so there's the more the merrier. Ooh, got full on like hoedown here. Also recommend for fans of what's the name of that band? There's that other black metal band that does like Native American themes. This is fun. I like this one. I like this a lot. Some very interesting picks today. More of that ambient nature noise here. Lots of kind of like nature reverence. But yeah, that is Primeval Well with Talkin' in Tongues with the Mountain Spirits. Then we have Ikarie with Cuerpos and Sombra. Out of Spain, developed a concept we've called cosmic existentialism, which is about our freedom and responsibility as a rational species, aware of its insignificant, terrifying, and astonishing existence in the universe. Heavy stuff. More doom and post-metal. More and more, y'all, though, you seem to like tapped into like the tiny part of my brain in terms of the Doom that I actually like. Maybe you'll slowly turn me into an actual Doom fan. Oh, I like this acoustic section here too. Ooh, those strings again, man. Lots of strings today. That's 3 in a row. Maybe even more. I've lost count. Lots of like heavily dynamic stuff too in all these releases. Lots of ups and downs. I almost wish I had split these up, but I didn't know what they were going to sound like going in, so that's some of the fun. Surprises all around. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's some like whispering going on that one. Very kind of eerie. La Criatura. This one's a bit more sludgy. More fitting artwork. A little bit more simplistic, but effective. Despertar. Yeah, lots of little interludes here to break things up between some of the longer compositions. I think y'all have figured out, though, the way to my heart is, if you're gonna send me Doom, put strings on it. Put some strings on it. Put a bird on it. Very good, I like that. So I still haven't figured out pronunciation. I think the one that sounds best to me right now is Ikarie with Cuerpos and Sombra. Alright, now we have Instriumae with Tempus, Volat. This is a Belgian label. Independent label. Band, I'm not positive. Alternative rock, instrumental, violin, all in the tags. Man, all the strings today. Just sending me all the strings. Some big crunchy guitar, too. Ooh. Now that's fun. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, Illuviate, but without the vocals, obviously. There has been a disturbing lack of folk this year. I'm really hoping next year we get some more in the way. Like, the last big folk release, I want to say, was that Ensephirum album, and that was, like, more of a power metal album, almost, really. So it still didn't quite scratch the itch. I do have one this month that, depending on when this episode drops, may or may not have already been recommended in another video, but I did find a folk metal release I really enjoyed for November. I'm liking this. I don't listen to a ton of instrumental music, but if they do enough where, like, the instruments kind of, like, speak in the way that the vocals would, then it works for me. And I feel like the strings here, the violin in particular, is really, like, filling the void. It also kind of reminds me of, I don't know if y'all used to listen to those, like, a string quartet version of so-and-so. Like, I had two for, like, Tool. There are various ones for, they'd, like, kind of take an album and turn it into a string quartet arrangement. It's got similar vibes. I always enjoyed those. I really like classical music, too, so all that's probably why I love symphonic metal so much. Got some energy to it, too. The guitar isn't slouching either. So good stuff. That is Instriumae with Tempus, Volat. Alright, then we have Synaxaria with Deep Dark Waters out of Belarus. Minx, to be Minx? Never say that right, to be exact. Ooh, speaking of symphonic. Alright, all jaunty. Interesting tags, too. I see, like, romantic rock, gothic. This has a little bit of that folk energy to it, honestly. Yeah, it's got that, like, folky kind of rhythm to it, the bounciness of it, and then also those vocals. It's a little bit over loud in general. And then the vocals mixing could be a little better. These tags are interesting, because I feel like this does feel more folky than anything else. They actually say romantic melodic metal from Belarus. Ooh, that's fun. Heck yeah. I live for moments like that, little explosions of sudden little mini, like, guitar solos. Clean singing also could use a little more polish. I like what they're going for, but it feels a little off. I like that we got some mixed vocals here, too. Sounds like we've got a male vocalist and a female vocalist. Got cleans and harsh vocals. I'd say mainly work on polishing up the clean vocals. Those higher vocals work pretty well. When he drops into kind of the lower register here, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. And then the mixing job. Is that saxophone? Oh yeah, look at that. That's fun. Yeah, overall a lot of good stuff going on here. I'm seeing room for growth, but overall, I think you got a really solid foundation. So that is Synaxaria with Deep Dark Waters. Alright y'all, we got The Sound That Ends Creation, and I have listened to this whole album. I considered doing it in another segment, but the reality is I'm not even sure if I really like this one. We got Carson Pace on this track of the Callous Cowboys. I have interviewed Chris on the channel. I've reviewed previous albums, and I really love the work that he does. But this album is just like pure chaos. Like, it's just tipped over the edge. He puts out so much music now too that's hard for me to keep up. Like, I feel like he puts out more than an album a year now. There's just so much. But yeah, the whole album's like this. It is so dense. Like, if you... This is those pianos, man. If you liked that from the previous episode, that Shriek album, it's in a similar vein, but this is just so much more chaotic than that. But it's like I had to share it with all y'all. Like, Chris does a lot of work on these, and he's very talented. And he's doing this like basically all by himself, except for some of the guest spots. But it's just so much to take in. Like, it's enough to give you a migraine sometimes. Just spastic, I think, is the key word. And yeah, there are a couple of different guest spots on this one. Yeah, absolute madness. If you the meme, absolute mad lad, like that's that in an album is what we've got here. Right down to the cover art. And the name, man. Boomers, Zoomers, Desperate Coomers, like, come on. But yeah, that's The Sound That Ends Creation. If this is a little too much for you, I'd recommend some of their other albums that are not quite as chaotic. Like, in particular, I liked Music Design to give you ideas in case you should run out of ideas. And also Roses and Thorns and Dead Unicorns. If you want something a little bit heavier too, Fitting Through the Crawl Space Between Rhyme and Reason is a little bit like grindier, I would say. So there's a lot, there's a lot to choose from here, but yeah, definitely check out The Sound That Ends Creation. All right, then we have Sense of Noise with Sense of Noise out of Mexico. And this track actually features Bjorn Speed Strid of Soilwork. 6-piece. Not bad. Nice, just clear allusions to classic like Gothenburg. Singing's pretty solid. Sometimes I get bands and they're just like off key. It's sad. It's good. Oh, that sounds like you. This is Bjorn, I think. This is Bjorn. There we go. Kind of kill switch engagey kind of sound too on this track. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, the composition of this is very actually like kill switch engage, which I enjoy. So I'm down for that. I wonder if we'll get a new one in 2021. A nice little intro there. That fade in guitar intro is so like early 2000s. Love it. Great riffs. I feel like the vocals, both in the production and the performance, could be tightened up. The singing's actually really good. I think it's more so the harsh vocals. I think just a little bit more like vocal coaching in the harsh vocals, and again, like balancing it out with the rest of the instrumentation would go a long way for something that already sounds pretty darn great. We got the cymbal crash opener. I'm already hearing elements here of good songwriting, nailing a lot of those blueprint elements. The other thing to think about too, I would nail those pieces first, and then once you've got that down, start thinking about like, how do we, you know, step out of the shadow of the bands that we're clearly influenced on here? Because that's a big deciding factor too. It's like, why should people listen to you instead of so many other bands out there? But yeah, this is quality. Good stuff. I'll be excited to hear more from you guys, and thank you for reaching out and also your support. These guys are fans of the show and decided to send some support, and I really appreciate that. So that is Sense of Noise with Sense of Noise. Alright, we've got Spread the Shadows with The Crossing, a little 3-song EP here. Miami, Florida band. Ooh, more good riffing here. Kind of like a little bit of like Greek black metal vibes in here, but very death metal, obviously. It's like that Floridian death metal sound mixed with a little bit of, I don't know what it is about it that gives me a little bit of that Greek vibe. Also a little bit of maybe like Nile. Nice groove here. Ooh. I like that part. A little behemoth-y there too. Yeah, a lot of good influences here. I like that. It's a cool riff. I'm a big fan of, like, especially somebody who came up on, you know, like Swedish melodic death metal. I'm a huge and metalcore. I'm a big fan of like the chugging riffs with the little blast of that, the little noodly picking stuff. That's my shit right there. Ooh, we got some like regional vibes here too, with some additional instrumentation. That's cool. Another case where, I mean, the vocals work. But one of the things in terms of like what separates like a good project from a great project that I want to keep listening to when it comes to metal is often a defining vocalist with a dynamic style. It's not always true. Sometimes I can just go for some brutal beatdown kind of stuff, but the straight up just like deep, brutal vocals all the time doesn't usually kind of do it for me. Just fun, good old-fashioned, kind of blackened Floridian death metal with some regional influences. But yeah, that is Spread the Shadows with The Crossing. Alright, then we have Sunfall with Reflections Beyond the Sun out of Russia. Vladimir, Russia. Hardcore, more like post-hardcore sound we're getting here. Punk, hardcore, melodic hardcore. Ooh, I like this. Got even a little bit of that, like, little Touche Amore, but also a little bit of even, like, Rise Against. This is that other stuff I tend to reach for. Like, if I'm not in a metal mood, my second choice is always going into more of, like, a punk, pop punk, or post-hardcore place. Love the energy of it, love the emotion of it. It really is a nice cross-section of kind of a bunch of different styles. The guitars are very kind of Rise Against, but the vocals are a little bit more post-hardcore. Cool to hear this out of Russia. I've heard a few bands like this kind of out of the Scandinavian area, but not out of Russia. Ooh. That's just straight up punk right there. I love that. Great, very just like 2000s punk. Thinking like Pennywise, stuff like that. Got a guest feature on here. Anthony of In My Eyes and 10 Yard Fight. I'm not familiar with those groups, so I don't know how big they are. Ooh, always a fan of that. Do. Full stop. That's fun. Great energy. I really like this. Only $5 too. 7 tracks. Punk is another love. All kinds. We're going all the way back to Dead Kennedys, Bad Religion, but then also pop punk, Blink-182, that kind of stuff, and then, like I said, post-hardcore stuff like Touche Amore. All of it fun stuff. Yeah, I like this. That's Sunfall with Reflections Beyond the Sun. Alright, then we have Death Has Spoken with Call of the Abyss. It's funny because there's another album I reviewed with a similar cover to this with the boat and everything. A little different, but this is more of like a River Styx kind of vibe. Oh, depressive. It's out of Poland. What do we got in the tags here? Black metal, Black and Doom, Death Doom. Definitely on the doomy side. Oh, here's the more overtly doom. That was a little bit upbeat for doom, honestly. You know what? It has a little bit of like tribulation in the instrumentation, and how it's like kind of melodic, kind of like dark, but still has that melody to it. The pacing too. Yet again, y'all send me some doomy stuff that I'm enjoying here. There's even a little bit of like Enslaved in this part is what this reminds me of. There's a particular song I'm thinking of too, where it's like I think it's on Rune. Big drums, production's pretty solid. Yeah, these big like slow parts are where if I'm just like sitting listening to the full album, I start to kind of like lose focus. But other than that, there's some interesting stuff to enjoy here. I like this acoustic stuff. Sounds great. So I think if you're a Doom fan, you definitely should check this out. And even if you're not, it's worth giving it a peek at least. That is Death Has Spoken with Call of the Abyss. Beatstick, the end. We're going right to the point with that one.
This is a test.
Out of Salem, Massachusetts. Alright, we're going raw and raunchy on this one. We're just gonna get straight ugly. Ooh, a little industrialized, too. That's interesting. I don't think that's not in the tags. Interesting, like, mix of, like, industrial metal, a little, like, hardcore. It's different. It's also long. It looks more like a grindcore album with this track listing, but the tracks are on the longer side. So look at that. So this is a long album. They're just, like, dark, evil-sounding stuff. It's got more of like a black metal production to it though, but I wouldn't say it sounds like black metal. Y'all do need to add industrial metal to your tags, because that is clearly like a big defining feature of your sound, I would say. This almost sounds like one of the noisier Skinny Puppy tracks, like Last Rites or something, or maybe The Process. Definitely weird. Definitely weird. You want something weird, this is where it's at. Yeah, you want to check out 27 songs of this. Check out Beatstick with The End. Then we have Megalith Leviathan with Void Psalms. Out of also Russia, and for more Doom. How about that? Oh yeah, now we're just going for slower, more traditional Doom here. Big, warm, rumbly sound. Cool cover. More traditional vocals, too. Yeah, again, I've said it before, this is definitely not, like, my favorite style, but I know plenty of people in my audience and doing other channels that'll have much more insight on this one than me. Like that bass. Cool little bass hook there. Bass sound. 4 tracks, but very long, if you like your tracks on the longer side. Maybe Quest for Metal. This might be up his alley. Seems like his kind of vibe. Yeah, just that kind of like Sabbathy energy. Oh, we got some guitar effects on here. A little subtle, like wah. Oh, again with the bass. Also, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's like a really subtle, like rainmaker. That's what it sounds like. We got some female vocals on here. Okay. Vocal variety, you know I'm all about that. Spooky, too. A very kind of mystical, black magic kind of vibe on that. Yeah, again, now, you know me. You let me know down in the comments. Like, tell me, if you Doom fans, what do you think about this? What kind of feedback would you give them, since I am a just plebe when it comes to Doom metal. I like some of it, but especially when it comes to this more traditional stuff, I always feel kind of out of my depth. But check out Megalith Leviathan with Void Psalms.